Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for March 4th, 2013. It's currently 9 a.m. We're going to start with a new feature here with the videos, looking at the nation as a whole first. And as you can see over the west coast, it's pretty dry out here. Not much really going on as far as any weather systems. Dry conditions with temperatures pretty much near normal in your 80s over Southern California and your 60s over portions of 50s and 60s over portions of the Pacific Northwest. Now notice we do have some cloud cover building into the Pacific Northwest. That's an upcoming storm that will move into the region over the next few days. Meanwhile, we have a very strong and dynamic upper level disturbance here that's going to be a major story for the mid-Atlantic coast moving forward. For today, it's going to be producing some heavy snowfall, blizzard conditions over the northern plains as the storm tracks to the south and east towards the Ohio River Valley over the next 24 to 48 hours. Thus, the widespread potential for blizzard conditions and heavy snow and winter storm warnings. As far as the East Coast, the Southeast is under the influence of high pressure. In fact, it is so warm that over southern Texas we have some red flag warnings as very mild temperatures combined with dry conditions leads to the potential for some fire danger. So use some caution down here in southern Texas. Don't throw your cigarettes or have a campfire lingering out there. You don't want to have a forest fire. And of course, we have a weak disturbance moving through portions of Oklahoma with some rain and snow showers. Nothing significant there. As we go back towards the northern mid-Atlantic, you can see our temperatures range from the lower to mid 20s over portions of the northern interior, especially around northeastern Pennsylvania, to the upper 20s to lower 30s along the coast. Notice everyone has a nice strong northwesterly wind ranging anywhere from 5 to 15 miles per hour. By this afternoon, we're going to see gusts pushing over 30 miles per hour. I'll show you why in just a moment. We can expect temperatures rebounding into the upper 30s to lower 40s over the northern interior and lower to mid 40s everywhere else. Pretty much averaging slightly below normal. We should be around 46, 47. We're going to end up around 42, 43 along the coast, 39 to 40 over the interior. Taking a look at the radar, we do have some snow showers here via lake effect from Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. These snow showers will not reach the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area, but they could produce a flurry over portions of northeastern Pennsylvania. No significant accumulation, but it'll certainly look nice this morning. Otherwise, we're going to have a few disturbances dropping south that could produce an isolated rain or snow shower for a brief period of time. Again, nothing significant in nature. Most locations can expect scattered to variable cloud cover. Now, the infrared satellite picture shows a few interesting features here. You can see one disturbance over just to the north of Lake Ontario, another disturbance off of the New England coast, and we have our upper level low here spinning about over the Canadian Maritimes with a stationary front. The pressure gradient between this low and this high will produce that northwesterly wind, and some of those winds will get mixed down to the surface from the mid-levels, producing wind gusts over 30 miles per hour. Meanwhile, here's our strong storm I was talking about. This storm is going to be something to watch, but I don't think it's going to have a significant impact as far as heavy precipitation for the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area. Southern New Jersey, you could see some rain, snow showers, but I think, quite frankly, that the main story here, the main focus here is going to be for the southern mid-Atlantic, especially for portions of Virginia, northwestern Virginia, West Virginia, and extreme portions, northern portions of North Carolina here. And I'm going to show you why with the water vapor satellite picture. You see this right here? This is a strong upper level low. You see this here? This is a strong upper level low. The whole key to the storm, as I've been saying for days, is that the Pacific pattern is not in line for a storm to move up the coast because it pushes everything in the 500 millibar pattern to the east. This gets pushed to the east. This, as a result, enhances a block here. Meanwhile, as this storm moves into the west coast, it pushes this ridge that's starting to develop off of the Rockies and into the plains and forces this upper level low to track to the southeast and then due east rather than northeast. It's not because of the models, it's because of physics, okay? So when you look at this entire weather pattern here setting up here, what you would need to change for this whole pattern to change, what you would need in order to get the solution you might want with snow pushing up into Philadelphia and New York City is this slowing down significantly. If this slows down, then you're allowed to keep a ridge over the Rockies, which allows you to have a trough axis more towards, let's say, the central Gulf Coast, which then allows you to have this disturbance dive south and then recurve northeast, and at the same time keeps this block in around 50 north, 50 west, which in turn keeps the ridge that builds up over Quebec a little bit further north, which thus, should I say, allows a storm to track northeast. But there's no indication that is happening at all. None. I mean, in the observations. You can see that this is moving in a nice progressive manner, and you can even see cloud cover already starting to push into the Pacific Northwest. You can see this trough and the associated disturbance already moving in a progressive manner to the southeast. You can see the subtropical jet stream moving from west to east. There's no indication of any recurvature or any type of digging over portions of the Mississippi River Valley. And you can see our upper level low over the Canadian Maritimes slowly inching to the east. Heights haven't started to build yet over Quebec, but when they do, it's going to act like a big roadblock that's going to prevent this storm from moving any further north. So this is what we have in place right now. Again, if this was not pushing towards the west coast like it is, then I would say game on. But it's just not working out that way. So today I'm using the European model guidance. I think there's some significant errors with the GFS, which I explain on the on my Facebook page at nynjpaweather.com. So I think that when you see what I wrote there, you'll understand why the GFS solution just isn't a reasonable solution. I also decided to go with from Pensa Ewald, by the way, the European model guidance display here that shows the changes in where the heights are moving towards in the model guidance. And I'm doing this for a reason because I kind of want to make a point here. Here we are for this afternoon. Again, our upper level low is sitting up over the Canadian Maritimes. Again, if this was just moving here and not out here, I would say that this storm situation would be totally different, but it's not. So you can already see our blocks starting to develop over portions of Quebec, and yes, we're nice and chilly, and we have a nice northwesterly flow. Everything looks like it's in line for a breezy day for today, chilly conditions. By tomorrow evening, look at our upper level low starting to collapse. The focus here is clearly towards the central Atlantic. Here's our block here as a result intensifying. Here's our upper level low with our storm. Notice our polar vortex is shifting more towards Western Canada. That means that this starts to break away. It no longer has an influence. And here's our upper level low, upper level trough moving into the west coast, and our ridge being displaced. So by the time we get to Wednesday night, this is the most important part of this forecast. Notice the height. In fact, let me go back here. Notice the heights here, 48 hours out. See this red and orange? This means that over the past 24 hours, the models have trended further south, but the pressure falls, or the height falls, at 500 millibars. By the time we get to Wednesday night, notice the model's trending has been more towards the south, not the north. I want to make that very clear. The European model guidance at 500 millibars, the 500 millibar heights have trended south, not north. So you can see that clearly right here. You can see it bleeding south, okay? So with that in place, here's our polar vortex, here's our displaced 50-50 low, our displaced North Atlantic oscillation more towards Iceland than it is towards the Canadian Maritimes. So that leads to this ridge, this increase in 500 millibar heights becoming stronger. That acts like a block on this storm. It can't move northeast, it has to move east. Meanwhile, our trough moves into the west coast, our ridge is displaced into the central plains, and as I've been saying, it pushes everything off to the east. As far as precipitation is concerned, it looks like I would say that it probably pushes into southern New Jersey. Now, be very careful with the 850 millibar temperatures here. Everyone's going to point out and say, oh, that's going to be snow. But notice where our high is. Our high is over portions of the Canadian Maritimes. Here's our low off the North Carolina coast. The difference here is going to cause very strong winds, first of all, but they're also going to produce very strong easterly winds. That's going to push a lot of warm air from the Atlantic into the coastal plains. So that means our temperatures are going to remain above freezing at the surface. So what you're probably going to be seeing here in southern New Jersey on Wednesday night into Thursday morning is either snow changing over to rain, a rain-snow mix, or just plain rain, depending on just how strong that easterly fetch is and how much low-level warm air can really work in here. This setup is not one that would support snow because of that low-level influence. And remember, we're in March, so we have a higher sun angle. The cold air mass is not as strong. If you're dealing with more of a northerly wind, I would say, hey, it looks a little bit more interesting. But right now, it clearly shows an easterly wind component setting up here. As far as the winds and coastal influences, the winds are going to be pretty strong. I'm looking at least 10 to 20 miles per hour sustained from the east, with gusts over 40 miles per hour, and that's going to be sustained fetch. So watch out along the coast, especially the New Jersey coast, for the potential for coastal flooding Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Also, I want to point out, one, this trough here that could have pulled this storm north if it was interacting more is way too far away to pull this storm north or to weaken this block. So that's a really important factor to really bring in there, that this trough is just not close enough to pull this storm north. That's why we've been seeing this suppression in the European model guidance. So here it goes, it pushes out. By the time this disturbance is able to inch closer, it's way too far out in the Atlantic. It exits out by Thursday afternoon. Everyone's clearing out as far as cloud cover. Still going to be pretty breezy out there, pretty windy. And then moving forward for this weekend, it looks actually pretty quiet. We have pretty much high pressure and control, variable cloud cover, temperatures moderate into the 50s. It's going to be a pretty nice weekend with temperatures more spring-like and slightly above normal. And looking at the rest of the long-range forecast, basically what we have here is a trough setting up over the western United States, disturbances diving south through the Pacific Northwest and lifting up towards the southern plains and towards the central Great Lakes. We start to establish a pretty impressive ridge over the eastern United States, but watch out for this upper level low. Could produce some what's called backdoor cold fronts. A bit pesky in the springtime with these cold fronts that sometimes move from, let's say, Boston down to New York City, where Philadelphia is 60 degrees and sunny and beautiful, and New York City is, well, rainy, cloudy, and temperatures in the upper 30s to lower 40s. So we'll have to watch out for that. That is a potential as we move in towards late next week and midweek and into the following weekend thereafter. Well, that is the forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a great day out there.